Pop quiz. Who was the best and most successful pop music act to be spewed out of the Nickelodeon machine? Ariana Grande is easily one of the biggest names in the music industry from the past decade. Best known for that Bang Bang song, you know, the one with Nicki Minaj and Mrs. Money, 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 and dating Pete Davidson, I guess. To be honest, I can't really pinpoint a reason that she's so famous beyond just being universally seen as a really talented singer. But she's huge, so that can't be it, right? Like, you don't get that famous without being good at what you do. The objectives for today's video are to listen to every Ariana Grande album, effectively rank, review, and synopsize every album, maybe squeeze in a few Victorious episodes somewhere, and most importantly, see what all the fuss is about. But also, I want to listen to you guys. You know, I'm really grateful for the growth that my channel has seen in the past month. We got like 1,000 new subscribers, and my comments are overwhelmingly filled with requests for this video, so this one's for you guys. Relax, get your snacks, put your feet up, and let's dive in. Ariana Grande Butera, age 29, female, and she's 5 feet flat, which is ironic considering her name is Grande. I don't know why I thought that Ariana Grande was like at least part Latina. Oh, shut up. If Logic can be black, then Ariana can be Latina. She just always has a tan, and her last name is what I know to be big in Spanish. But I guess the Italian translation does make a little more sense for a name. But back to the important stuff. Ariana rose to fame for her role as Kat on Victorious. If you don't know, it's a Nickelodeon show where kids sing. I didn't really watch the show that much. I was more of an iCarly guy. But since then, she's really distanced herself so far from that show that I sometimes almost forget it's how she got her start. Not in a negative way, but when you think about Cole Sprouse or the Jonas Brothers, even Miley Cyrus sometimes, Disney is like always there, you know? But with Ariana, I really don't think that's the case at all. At least for me. And there could be a bunch of reasons for that. She did play a smaller role on a show that was a little bit past my time, and really just looked and sounded different. That poor girl. But anyways, Ariana signed with Republic Records in August of 2011, and has since then released 6 studio albums with them. Yours truly, My Everything, Dangerous Woman, Sweetener, Thank You Next, and Positions. I'll obviously be listening to the deluxe editions of My Everything and Positions as well. She also has 2 Christmas EPs, which I won't be listening to because, well, it's April. But Santa Baby, banger. All 6 studio albums together equate to only 90 tracks and about 301 minutes or 5 hours and 1 minute of music. That's kind of how I like it, to be honest. You know, each album is like 45 minutes to an hour, nothing too long. If I really wanted to, I could probably crank this out in like 2 days, not even. But I really want to take my time with each one, maybe even re-listen when I need to, just so I have a better grasp on each of them. I'm not really sure what to expect because, again, I barely ever listen to her music, but I want to try my best to go in with an open mind, and I'll probably like it. You know, after Taylor Swift and The Weeknd, this really did feel like the most logical next step, so let's get listening, losers. Also subscribe. I didn't say that, but you should subscribe.
What we gotta do right here is go back in the time.
Oh, I'm so tired. Guys, I'm mad at you. Alright? Every single one of you watching, I'm mad at you. Because nobody told me that Ariana Grande was her. Like, what the f? You guys really let me make a video about Christmas movies before I did this one? That first song, jeez, bro. Oh my god. What a banger. Don't get me wrong, I love the style of my videos. I mean, I do choose to make them this way for a reason. But it's times like these that I wish I was HT Hayes, because you really just don't get the chance to see how hyped I was when listening to this album. So instead, I was just busting a move in the middle of the Hofstra Fitness Center. Like, it's just not the same, you know? The opening track, Honeymoon Avenue, really kicks off the album with high energy. And I really like that, because this is Ariana's first album, so she's out here with a chip on her shoulder, you know? Something to prove. And she kind of went crazy this entire album. I know it sounds like I'm gassing it up, but when that pre-chorus hits and you hear the jump into falsetto, baby, you just can't learn that, man. I mean, maybe you can, but the girl's got a gift, alright? I think I went into this listen expecting that Ariana kind of just leaned completely on her singing chops, and that the writing and production of her songs was just kind of gonna be eh. But boy, was I wrong. All the albums have different sounds, and obviously we're gonna get into those as the video goes on. But this one felt kind of nostalgic, but not really. Like, the style of these songs is right in between being nostalgic and being outdated, if that makes sense. So it didn't feel too modern, but it definitely didn't feel retro, you know? And it was really just a breath of fresh air. With this album, it was pretty clear that she wasn't trying to do anything monumental. I mean, it was her debut project, and she was like, what, 20? But she's taking every chance that she gets to show what she's capable of as a singer, and songs like Better Left Unsaid and Honeymoon Avenue really showcase that well. Something I forgot to talk about is The Way. Bro. Shut up. God. It's a banger! Bouncy piano with the vocals, and the last chorus when she harmonizes on that. Ooh. All in all, really enjoyed this album. It's probably not the most popular with the Grande girls, Arianators? That actually sucks. What are they, an army of T-800s with cat eyes and hair extensions? Grande Girls is so much better. Alliteration, and it means big girls, which is body positivity. But anyways, even if this album isn't the most popular, it just radiates this fun, young energy that I think the others don't. The production is so punchy, and her vocals are just so good and so dynamic, and they just work together really well in my opinion. Guys, I woke up today kind of feeling like a menace. Some might call me a dangerous woman, except, you know, I'm a guy, so it'd be like a dangerous man. I carried out 2 albums, guys. Are you kidding me? My Everything and Dangerous Woman. My Everything was definitely fun. Something about it felt more radio friendly than the first album did. A lot of the songs on this album kind of felt like a guilty pleasure. And I usually don't have guilty pleasures because whenever I like something, I do this thing where I just don't feel bad about it. But if you were to ask me what I hate most across not just pop music, but all music, it's those stupid Zed beat drops and those awful Chainsmoker synths. So part of me does really feel conflicted because I think if you extract all of the 2014-ness from these songs, they would slap. They still slap. Like, I enjoy them, but when I was listening to Break Free, I jokingly said to myself, bro, who invited Zed? And he's literally on the song. Like, that's actually him. I don't hate Zed. Clarity's fun. You know, the Eminem song slaps, obviously. But the second you listen to another one of his songs, it's like, oh, this is the only thing that he does. And it's just boring, dude. Same with the Chainsmokers. Oh, this album also kicked off the start of the Weeknd and Ariana Grande collaborative relationship. I'd probably say Love Me Harder is my second favorite of their songs together. I feel like the productions of a lot of the songs on this album sounded kind of flat. And her vocals are still crazy good. Like, it's Ariana Grande, so it's always gonna be good. But compared to the first album, this one just doesn't feel as enthusiastic. Except for Bang Bang. That song's just always gonna hit. But aside from that, I was actually kind of sad listening to this album. Because One Last Time and Problem, those are my 6th grade bangers. And I just didn't expect them to age the way that they did. You know, I really used to love those songs. Okay, fine, I still do. But that doesn't mean that I retract any of my criticisms. This album is probably my least favorite. Because yes, it has some really great songs, but everything else about it is so... ugh. Like, work with me here, Ariana. I'm sorry, man. You're a good kid, but one of you guys has to be last. But Zed? Really? Zed, you practically volunteered as tribute. I think my biggest takeaway from Dangerous Woman is how every song kind of just felt like such a huge production. Guys, Ariana's officially in her Reputation era. Right out the gate, this album showcases a pretty different sound with the plucky strings on Moonlight, which is a banger, might I add. It's not anything experimental, but it's definitely fresh and different from the other albums. And in general, this album feels like she's a vet now. You know, the productions are so huge and everything about the songs is just much more ambitious. And each song also feels distinct, like its own idea, which is even more so the case later on, but I do think the first 2 albums did lack a bit of variety. Another thing that I noticed is that sometimes when she's like resolving on a chord, she includes the 8th of that chord. Say it ends on like a D chord, right? Which is like this. This is also a D, but it's like the 8th, right? Because it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So instead of it ending like this, it'll end like this. Oh my god, shut up! Freaking nerd. And it's just so satisfying, and like, you know, not a lot of people do that. Here's my top 5. I just gotta say it, Side to Side might be him. The groove of that song is actually insane. I don't really care for the Nicki verse, or any Nicki verse for that matter, but the song is just so good. And right when I thought it couldn't get any better, she literally wrote a song about me! Now listen, I might be kind of biased, but this has to be the best one, right? Nah, I'm kidding. I actually didn't really like it the first time I listened to it, but it's definitely grown on me. And it's a change of pace that's pretty nice. Of course it is. It's my song. You can't name a bad song Jason's song. If it's bad, name it like Billy's song or something. Steve's song, you know? Sorry, Uncle Steve, if you're watching this. I can't express how happy seeing this song title really made me. I have a friend named Annie, and she has Annie's song by John Denver, which is just so beautiful, you know? And now I have my Annie song. So thank you for that, Ariana. But yeah, final thoughts. I think this album does a really good job with that BDSM aesthetic, while not leaning into it too hard to the point where it feels unnatural. And her vocals sound a lot better on this one than the last one. Warmer and overall less buried. I really like the album. Sweetener's an interesting one. I actually didn't really like it that much on my first listen, but I gave it another try, and what can I say? I did a complete 180. I think this album marks the start of her more hip-hop influenced experimental side prevailing. One thing I noticed is you can kind of split her entire discography down the middle, and it's like two different aesthetics, two different sounds, two different artists, really. The best way I can describe it is the first half is the Ariana that goes, woo! And the second half is the Ariana that goes, yeah. But this is Ariana Grande we're talking about, so even if she does less riffing in the second half of her discography, it's not really going anywhere, like, let's be real. This album also marks the start of what I've coined as Hornyana Grande, because she talks about a whole lot of sex on these albums. I like both sides. Obviously, the second half has a little more variety to it, but the first half for me is like classic Ariana Grande. Like, if I feel like listening to Ariana Grande, I'll probably pick a song from those first three albums. But this album is definitely one of my favorites. It's her first album that doesn't feel jam-packed with songs for the radio, and all the hip-hop inspiration that it draws with the trap drums and distorted instrument samples just makes it really fun, man. It complements her vocals in a way that I just wasn't expecting. So I just found out that Pharrell Williams worked with her on this album. If you compare this album, the way it sounds, to this Nerd album, I'll put it on the screen, I forget what it's called. Like, when I found out, it like clicked, and that honestly makes sense. It's probably why I like this album so much more than the other ones. She also flows a bit, like rapping on this album, and that's completely new. And at first it was a little hard for me to get into it, but after I let go of my fragile masculinity, I actually really liked it. The Raindrops intro though? When raindrops fell. Oh my god, it's so beautiful! When raindrops fell down from the sky, the day you left me, an angel cried. So simple, but so good. Making it number one feels kinda cheap, but I don't care. In a way, Raindrops feels like a tease, you know, because she doesn't do that much like soulful singing on this album, but it's a reminder, like, hey, just because I'm not singing as much on this album doesn't mean I can't still do it. And it's just fire, man.
Good morning, losers. So yesterday at the gym, I listened to Thank You Next. And it was pretty good.
This album is kind of a mixed bag. I also did a 180 on this album, but the other way. I respect that the album makes different choices. You know, if Sweetener was her experimenting with that more modern sound, this feels like she's really committing to it. And it works sometimes. I really like the song Bloodline, but sometimes it's just a little much, like on 7 Rings. I do like that she's having a lot more fun with her vocals on this one though. A lot less riffing and a lot more flowing and stacking. Of all the albums, this one feels the dirtiest, like the most rough around the edges, probably because it really is the most hip-hoppy. Like, she went full 808 on us. And obviously I enjoy my fair share of hip-hop, but I think when you're drawing inspiration from different genres for pop music, you kind of have to know which aspects to take from it and which aspects to take on a long drive out to the woods and bury 6 feet underground. And I personally think some songs on this album just didn't do that. I don't have much else to say. I'd probably give it like a 4 or 5, you know, something in the middle, but I honestly really didn't like it. I'm sorry if that's a hot take. We've officially made it to the final album, guys. It's been a long ride. A long 5 days. But we're finally here. Where to start? This album is definitely the horniest of all the albums. There's a song called 34 plus 35, and I haven't taken a math class in a while, but if I think really hard, carry the 3... It's about sex! I feel like a lot of the hooks on this album are super gimmicky. Like, you can definitely tell it was made in a post-TikTok world. And by no means does gimmicky directly translate to bad. It's just really clear what the writers are trying to do, and sometimes really hard to take seriously. But who really cares? The songs are still fun. You know, I thought it was really stupid that she named the song 34 plus 35, because I feel like it's just so blatantly obvious that she's trying to be cute and clever, but it just doesn't really work in my opinion, because what reason within the actual song do you have to split 69 into 34 plus 35, other than just trying to make it like a wink cute type of thing? This album also probably features the most flowing. She's really embraced that light airy sound and not entirely abandoned the soulfulness, but it's like barely there. She also does the whistle tones a lot more. Like, it's cool, it's a flex, but it's also a gimmick. Like, I'm sorry, it just is. And in general, the songs are just very horny, lighthearted, and just filled with her flexing on us. In a good way, though, you know? It's kind of like the Barney Stinson of Ariana Grande albums. Okay, so Ted would be my everything, because he's the lead, but he kind of sucks. Marshall's Yours Truly. Robin is definitely Dangerous Woman, and then Lily is Thank You Next because I hate her, and Sweetener can be Ranjit. Perfect. Throughout this entire video, I didn't really talk about any of the emotional content of any of her work, and it's not because it's not there, it's just not as important, I guess. I think every artist has a different appeal from what their songs are at face value, so being a fan of an artist can be different than being a fan of their songs. For example, Maroon 5, love their music. Adam Levine, yeah, I'm good. So even if the deeper meanings are there, I don't get the sense that people go to her music for them. Ariana's appeal is different because there's just so many different things that can make you like her music. The fact is, with a voice like hers, she very easily could have gone down the Broadway Celine Dion Adele route and had her talent be the spearhead of her career, but instead her music is a three-headed dragon, with not just one of the best vocalists of our generation, but also really good production and pretty good songwriting. And it's very clear how important her music is to her. Like, yeah, she's not the full singer-songwriter type deal, but she has songwriting credits on all of her albums, and even a few producer credits on some of them. Fun fact, Ariana's Victorious co-star, Leon Thomas III, actually had a hand in producing some of the songs on Yours Truly and Positions. So that's cool to see, that they maintained a working relationship after the show ended. So I'm working on a spec episode for my class, but I figured I would turn on some Victorious. Victorious right there. Don't pay attention to how messy my desk is. I'm watching the Kesha episode, remember that one? It's actually kind of fun. Like, the jokes aren't that great, but the energy with the cast is, like, pretty good. I still can't believe they made her dye her hair for that show. Like, would Kat really have been that different if she were a brunette? Victorious is actually kind of funny. Funky nut blast. I like everyone on the show except for Tori, because all she does is complain about how hard her life is. Hey Tori, it's April. How those taxes coming along, yeah? How's the mortgage? Oh wait, you're literally at a high school for singing and dancing, so your problems are, oh, Psychoids gave me a C on my play. Oh, Jade doesn't like me. Like, shut up! But back to Ariana. I think I have two big takeaways from this entire thing. One, Ariana does a lot more than I think people usually give her credit for. It's really easy to look at her from the outside and think that she's just a Republic Records puppet, but that's pretty far from the truth. And two, her diva persona, and I say persona as to not make any assumptions about her actual character. I know that donut video is out there somewhere, but I don't see anything. That persona very heavily bleeds into her music, and it just makes the songs more fun. My brother once told me that he listens to The Weeknd because it makes him feel like hot shit. You know, like a bad bitch. And to be honest, I feel like that's the same for women with Ariana, and I think that's probably what it boils down to at the end of the day. Also, when it comes to being that big of a pop music juggernaut, you really have to be firing on all cylinders all the time. And that's definitely the case with all of these songs. I think any issues that I might have had with them were more based around the choices that were made and not necessarily anything being done poorly. And with every aspect of the music cranked up to 10, it's really like a 2017 Warriors type situation. Because everyone can probably agree that her music is some of the best pop music out, but sometimes it just feels a little unfair, you know? And Taylor can be like LeBron. I will say though, because it's so pop, you kind of have to be in the right mood for it. Unlike some of the other artists we've talked about on this channel, Ariana doesn't really cater to many emotions other than Queenslay period. Like, what am I supposed to do when I'm in my bag? Raindrops is only 30 seconds long. But when you are in that mood, I can't think of anyone better for it. Especially if you're a girl. Here is my official ranking of all of the albums. It was actually insanely hard to make because I knew that My Everything was obviously at the bottom and then Thank You Next, but after that it was honestly a toss-up. So I re-listened to some of my favorite songs on the rest of the albums and worked something out. Let me know what you would change in the comments, and of course also let me know what your favorite Ariana album and song are. If I had to guess, I'd probably say her most popular album is either Dangerous Woman or maybe Positions, I'm not really sure. And here are my top 15 songs. I think some of the top ones are actually going to be kind of controversial, but I don't care, man. The Way? I made a playlist on Spotify with all these songs called Yeah. Oh, I mean... Yeah. So you should definitely go check that out, and feel free to follow me on Spotify while you're at it. Also follow me on Instagram at JasonPaulKim, because I like to do a lot of polls and stuff to determine topics that I talk about in videos, you know, different albums and artists you want me to cover. I have a special video in the works that should be coming out in a few days, so be on the lookout for that. And please subscribe if you're new. New videos every Friday, and like this video because it actually helps the algorithm so much, and you know, we're trying to grow out here. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. It's me, Jesse, and Ari. If they test me, they sorry. Ride himself like a Harley, then pull up in his Ferrari. If we hang, we bang. Bang, 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 bang. It ain't karaoke, now but grab the mic, cause I'm saying,